everyone, it's Lainey. Welcome back and welcome if you're new to another card video. I am kind of stepping out of the fall and Halloween phase right now and gonna mix in some Christmas. These are some scrap pieces from Concord 9th, so I will list the colors I'm using today in the description box down below. So when you click on the description box, I will have my Instagrams and other YouTube channels, tools and supplies I use, and then the color list will be down at the very bottom. I hope that that helps you out a little bit more. Now for the card, once again, going to be using Concord 9th today. I've got the Festive Phrases Dies, and this also has a coordinating stamp set. I'm just going to be using the Holly Jolly, and it does have the shadow layer. And I also pulled a card front die, which I ordered the same time that I purchased this when they were having that warehouse sale a few months ago. But this is called the Snowfall Card Front Die, and I wanted to incorporate this as well. So as this is going to be the panel, I want to cut out the shadow layer on the panel itself, and then we will incorporate the color for kind of like a little background. And this is the panel. I'm trying to think here. This is 80-pound cardstock, and I already cut it down, and it is measuring 4 inches by 5 1/4. So it's a little smaller than an A2 size. And what I am thinking here is something like this, because I do want my card to be in a portrait orientation. So I want to make sure that I have this, you know, have enough space. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is move that aside. I'm going to bring in my magnetic magic mat here and just place my panel down, and then make sure that it is lining up with the grids up at the top. I'm paying attention to that. And then I'm going to bring in the actual text to make sure that the shadow layer is straight. So now that that is positioned where I want it, it is magnetic, so I don't have to tape it down. But what I do want to do is bring in another piece of cardstock and lay that right on top to protect my panel from the cutting mats. So now I'm going to go ahead and run this through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 and get this cut out. Alrighty, so now for the reveal. Now we've got the shadow layer cut out. That is perfect. And one more time here, I want to now get this pressed down. So let me think. So line that up. Line that up. Okay, so I'm going to run this through, and fingers crossed that it's going to turn out the way that I anticipate. Alrighty, I'm gonna pick this up, and the panel is really stuck down to that card front. But yes, okay, so that worked. So let's see if the camera will pick that up. The impressions of the snowflakes and little circles, very neat. So I'm zoomed in a little more now, and I need to cut down my cardstock into strips. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer here, and I'm thinking about 1/2 inch strips. So let's see here. All right, so I'm going to turn my panel over, and I was thinking about, you know, maybe gluing them just like this and then bringing in my paper trimmer again and then, you know, trimming down the excess. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just add a little liquid glue to the back side of this. Okay, and then I'm going to lay the strip down, and this is the starting strip, so I'm going to turn it over to make sure I have the spacing and the angle that I want, and I think that that is going to look perfect. So now I can lay this back down, and I'm going to turn it around. So now it's upside down, but it doesn't really matter. I just want to add glue to the back side of this. And then line up the strip the best that I can, as close as I can, and get that pressed down. Okay. And just, I'm going to be turning it back and forth just to make sure there's no gaps on the front side. Yes, that looks so good. I love these two colors together. And I'm just going to repeat the process. So for the last piece, I am going to repeat the sherbet, I believe it's called. And then that will complete the paper piecing. And then I just have this to move to my scraps. All right, and here is the pattern. Now I need to cut off the excess, obviously, but I really love this color palette, and I found this on Pinterest. It wasn't Concord 9th, it was another card brand that I can't think of off the top of my head, but all I did was I saw the colors, I really liked them, so I took a screenshot, and then I came and looked through my Concord 9th colors and kind of matched them so I could recreate the color palette that I saw. Alrighty, so just trimming down the excess here. You could definitely use scissors, but I prefer my paper trimmer. All right, so now our panel is completely done and sized. And then we will make this more secure once we attach it to our card base. And speaking of card bases, let's go ahead and just build our card. I am going to wipe down my magnets to make sure they don't transfer any debris to the back of my card base there. And I want to build this up. And it looks like I need to trim down the panel just a little bit more because there's a little color poking through at those corners. I didn't get close enough. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. If you can see that, it's just super, super faint. But I'm going to trim that down, and then we'll bring in our foam tape and build up our panel and attach it to our card base. One thing I do want to say is if you didn't have a paper trimmer, or even if you did, if you have got A2 layer dies, you could always use that and run it through. Just make sure to protect your panel when you are running it through your die cutting machine. But I really like A2 layer dies because it gives it a really nice pressed edge. So just personal preference, I always have my paper trimmer out, so that's kind of my go-to. But honestly, the A2 layer die I think would make this look a little more polished in my opinion. All right, so turning this over and going to do the normal process here. Just line my foam tape up along those edges and then fill in the middle and then get this placed down on my card base. Excuse my head if it's in the way. Let's line it up. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm just gonna get that pressed down. And now I'm thinking about cutting this out in white because this is very colorful and I don't want to take away from the color. So I think white would probably be the best fit unless you had like a, I don't know, kind of like a silver or something. I think that would look nice too because it would be soft. But let's cut this out in white. I'm going to bring in this scrap here. This is a 110-pound cardstock, and I'm going to cut this Holly Jolly out a couple times in 110 to build it up and give it some thickness. So I cut out the Holly Jolly 3 times in 110-pound cardstock, and We'll see if this is enough thickness. I'm just removing these little centers here. And I want to apologize for the arms. Ollie and I were playing pretty rough this morning, and needless to say, he won. So yeah, he beat up his mama pretty good. Okay, so for these little pieces here, now this usually works when it's not new. Let's see, because sometimes if it's new, like the sticky part will actually stick to my glass mat, but I just added a little, I just touched it a couple times, so, you know, to reduce the tackiness a little bit. And this is how I use my lint roller to pick up paper scraps and vinyl scraps. So you're welcome in advance. All right, so I have the hollies together and the jollies together. Let's go ahead and make this permanent. Let me bring in my tweezers. And this isn't too dainty, fine and dainty, the paper or the... All right, and all I'm doing is just adding a little glue and using my precision tip to kind of spread the glue around. Okay, and let's let that go. I don't know if I should use my hand or the tweezers. Okay, line it up. Perfect. All right, so we've got the holly jolly cut out, and I'm just going to nestle this in its space. I really like that white. It really is popping with that little colorful strip background. And now, like I said, I want to incorporate some other elements. I did bring out some dewdrops. I think that this would be a nice accent. I also pulled this Christmas cloche die here, once again, Concord 9th, and I've got a really cute card coming using some of these elements. But what I pulled was, let me turn this around and show you. It comes with the bow and some greenery and also a little cutout for the bell. So those are the elements that I pulled. Now, as for the bow, I was thinking about doing it in the sherbet and then the greenery in the parsley. And I pulled some gold for the bell as well. So let me go ahead and get this cut out and see how this looks. And if I like it, then I will use my gold cardstock to cut out the bell. But I need to play with this and position this and see where it's going to be, you know, placed on my card base. Okay, so I've got the bow pieces here and then the greenery. And I'll just put these pieces on my mat for right now, just to keep them all together so nothing gets lost. Okay, so let me turn this over here, and I'm going to use my wax tool to help. I'm going to use my liquid glue again, and I'm going to start with this piece here and apply glue all over this. And sometimes it just helps me to use my fingers. Okay, and I'll just line it up just like that, just overlapping those two layers. And then for the third piece, it's the center right here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue and use my wax tool and get that pressed down. And now for the tails. As you can see here, it's got two different examples of this bow, and I just really love this die. I feel like it has so many elements to it, and I got it on sale, so it was just a deal. Anyways, the tails are different. So this one, the tails are spread out, and this one's a little bit closer. You're going to do that when you're gluing that, you know, the paper pieces together. And I like that because, you know, I'm kind of running out of room down here, and the tails are kind of long. So I'm going to move all this stuff over, bringing in my card again. And the Holly Jolly is not glued down yet. But let's bring in these pieces and see if this is even going to work. I mean, it is cute as is. You could definitely leave it alone, just add some embellishments and kind of call it a day. But I just think that it needs a little something else. And, you know, maybe just the bow. Maybe not even the greenery. Because that looks cute. Something along those lines there. So, looking at the tails, I think that that's probably going to be the best kind of positioning for that. So, looking for my tweezers here. Let me keep the tails just in place. Tried to at least. Okay, add some glue there. And bring in the top piece. Okay. I'm going to move it off to my glass mat just so I don't mess up anything, get extra glue in places. Okay. So I'm going to turn that over and just set that aside and let that dry. And as that dries, let's go ahead and get the Holly Jolly and make this permanent. Once again with the liquid glue. And I'm going to bring in the paper that we used as a shim earlier, place that on top to protect the card, and then the magnets to allow that to get glued together. And this magnetic mat over here, it's holding the cap to my wax tool, it's holding my little pin to my glue, and then it's just holding my dies as well so they're not lost. I do have a Spellbinders magnet, but I don't have that on my desk right now. And so I'm loving this mat. Absolutely loving this large magnet here. Okay, so let's move these magnets and our shim. And I've got a little residue coming out the bottom, so I'm just going to clean that up. I'm going to bring in the bow here, and I'm really wanting it to, you know, just kind of be at the bottom. So now it would look good at the top if the tails were spread out, you know, more like the first picture here. But I really like it at the bottom. Ooh, and you know what? Maybe I could build it up. Okay, so I'm going to bring in these pop dots here. These are from Hobby Lobby, and these are a little thicker than the pop dots that I typically use from Dollar Tree. And I want to use some thicker ones because we added quite a bit of dimension with the text there. So, 2 right there, and then we'll take the smaller ones to support the tail. Okay, let's remove those backers. All right, now I'm going to use my tweezers just to get my big old hands out of the way and make sure everything is centered. Oh, so cute. Oh my goodness. I just don't want to give up on the greenery. I really don't. You know, maybe if I trimmed it and it was just a little bit poking out. All right, so I trimmed the greenery down a little bit so I could kind of nestle it underneath there. Greenery? No greenery. I'm thinking no greenery. Okay, but we tried. So now I'm loving this. I love that added dimension. It's really giving me like a gift vibe. Like I feel like this is a little gift box. And I think that is so cute. All right, I am going with a duo and a trio. I tried to do some randomness. I played with the snowflakes, and then that didn't look good. And then I played with the other little ones that have like 4 little notches, and that wasn't. It's just hard for me to kind of be random, but you could definitely go in so many different directions with these embellishments. Now, I will say that I am using the smallest ones, and then also I think the third size up, because I believe there's 4 different sizes in this. So I typically don't use this size. I use the smaller ones of the pack, but I'm liking this. I decided to do the trio up here, and while I'm kind of talking about that, I guess I can make these permanent. I decided to do the trio at the top because the bottom is very heavy now that we have the bow element. So now, adding the 3 up at the top, I feel like it kind of distributes the weight, and now it's more even. If I had them down here, it would just be really heavy at the bottom of the card, and I don't want that. So that is why I did the 3 up at the top. Okay, last one, and I think it's beautiful. So again, check the description box for the information on tools and supplies and Instagrams and things like that, and also the list of colors that I'm using and supplies from Concord and 9th. We've got the dimension, the color, the embellishments. Love how this turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next card or craft. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one.